The following is an allegorical interpretation of a thought experiment posed by 17th century philosopher Blaise Pascal, which reveals something simultaneously profound and deeply unsettling about the human mind itself. Every week, a man goes to a race course to gamble on horse racing. His hope is to eventually win a large enough sum of money that will change his life. After years and years of this, without having achieved anything near his goal, the man has now become a regular at the course, known by all the aristocrats, merchants, stewards, bookmakers, and so on who frequent or worked the course. One aristocrat in particular who regularly visits the race course out of a love for the art of horse racing often observes the gambling man's constant and obsessive betting. He watches him lose over and over, only occasionally winning. He watches him thrash with agitation as the horse races take place. One day, the aristocrat approaches the gambling man. "How much money are you hoping to ultimately win?" he asks. "What would satisfy you?" The gambling man pauses for a moment, confused. Then he murmurs the number to the aristocrat. Says the aristocrat. He reaches into his waistcoat pocket and pulls out a large sack of coins. "Here, there is your money," the aristocrat continues. The gambling man stares down at the coins, his eyes widening and lighting up. "But," continues the aristocrat, "you can never gamble here again, okay? In fact, you can never gamble anywhere. I know of every race course, tavern, inn, house, club, none of them." "Why?" asked the gambling man. "Firstly, you're missing out on the beauty of these races and games. Secondly, if you gamble again, you will surely lose my money. And my money does not go to waste." Dumbfounded, but elated, the gambling man agrees. Several weeks go by, and the gambling man can no longer take it. He is miserable. He got what he was gambling for, but something is missing. Soon he returns to the race course, approaches the bookmaker's counter, and asks to place a bet. "I can't," says the bookmaker. "You agreed to the aristocrat's terms. I cannot participate in breaking them." "Please," says the gambling man, "you can play, but you can't bet actual money, and I can't let you win." The bookmaker responds. The gambling man agrees. Every week he returns to the race course and places fake bets, knowing full well that he will not win anything. He watches the horses whip by on the course and feels nothing. There's no hope, no uncertainty. On the verge of complete and utter despair, the gambling man decides he must undo what he's done. He returns to the aristocrat. "Here," says the gambling man. "What is this?" asks the aristocrat. "It's the money I still have, nearly all of it you gave me. I don't agree to the terms anymore. I'm going to gamble again." "Why? Isn't this money what you were after?" "I guess not," says the gambling man. "This is not a story about gambling. This is a story about you, about the way your mind works, about the psychological trap that most people live inside of their entire lives, without ever once realizing it." In Pascal's book, Pensées, he uses this thought experiment to explore what he believed to be humanity's greatest psychological weakness, not greed, not laziness, not even fear, boredom. More specifically, our intense, almost violent repulsion of it. Boredom strips away every distraction. It creates silence. And in that silence, your mind is forced to confront itself, its emptiness, its unsolved tensions, its unresolved identity. According to Pascal, we are so disturbed by what we find in that silence that we will do almost anything to avoid it. We refuse to sit with ourselves, and so we manufacture chaos, pursue goals, create problems, not because we truly want the outcomes, but because the chase keeps us from having to face what's inside. Pascal writes, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. This is not a philosophical observation. This is a psychological diagnosis. And here is what makes it truly dark. It's rarely the outcome that we are actually after. The gambling man didn't want the money, he wanted the chase, he wanted the hope, he wanted the uncertainty that kept his mind occupied and away from itself. In psychological terms, this is called escapism through anticipation, a mechanism where the mind uses the pursuit of a goal not to achieve it, but to avoid the present moment. In plain terms, you are not chasing your goals. You are using your goals to run away from yourself. Now understand something. This pattern does not stay small. It scales. It deepens. It evolves into something far more insidious. Here is how the psychological loop works. To avoid the discomfort of sitting with yourself, you engage in distractions and pursuits. You direct your attention outward, toward screens, toward goals, toward noise, as a misguided attempt to resolve an internal tension externally. When these things inevitably fail to resolve what's underneath, the tension returns. The boredom returns. The restlessness returns. Still unwilling to face it, you seek a new distraction, a stronger one, a faster one. And over time, something disturbing happens. Each distraction needs to be more stimulating than the last. Your sensitivity decreases. Your numbness increases. What once excited you no longer does. What once gave you hope now feels hollow. And yet you keep looping, chasing, consuming, distracting, not because it works, but because stopping means sitting with yourself. And that, your mind has convinced you, is the one thing you cannot do. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Dark psychology calls it a control mechanism, because a mind trapped in this loop is a mind that can be endlessly sold to, endlessly manipulated, endlessly kept distracted from its own power and depth. In the words of Dostoevsky in The Gambler, a man can sit for almost 24 hours at cards without looking to right or to left. This is not discipline. This is dissociation. This is a man so afraid of himself that he has dissolved entirely into the game. Now, look at the world this psychological weakness has built around you. It is estimated that over 4 billion people gamble at least once every year. On prediction market platforms, people are now placing bets on whether a political figure will wear a certain color tie, whether a nuclear weapon will detonate by a certain date, whether a religious prophecy will materialize. The entire media and entertainment industry has been restructured around this same psychological loop. Short clips, outrage cycles, endless scrolling, all engineered to keep you in a state of just enough stimulation to avoid boredom, but never enough satisfaction to stop. This is not an accident. This is a system designed around your psychological weakness. The moment you understand that your boredom, your restlessness, your craving for the next thing, these are not flaws in your character. They are entry points that have been deliberately widened and exploited, is the moment you begin to take your mind back. Author Neil Postman warned decades ago, when a people become an audience and their public business a vaudeville act, then a nation finds itself at risk. What he did not say, but what dark psychology makes explicit, is that an audience does not think. An audience only reacts, and a person who only reacts has no real agency over their own life. There is also something deeper beneath this loop that rarely gets spoken about. When a person feels that the system they exist within offers them no real path forward, when wealth, opportunity, and meaning feel structurally out of reach, something shifts psychologically. They stop investing sincerity into their own life. Everything begins to feel like a gamble anyway, so why not literally gamble? Why not detach? Why not watch it all as a spectacle from a safe psychological distance, never fully committing, never fully believing, never fully trying? This is not laziness. This is a psychological defense mechanism, a way of protecting the self from the pain of repeated disappointment. But it is also a trap. Because the mind that refuses to fully commit to anything is also the mind that will never build anything real. It will only loop, forever chasing, forever escaping, forever gambling on everything except itself. So, what is the way out? It begins with something that feels almost unbearably simple. Sitting with yourself, allowing the boredom, allowing the silence, allowing your mind to surface what it has been running from. This is not comfortable. In fact, for most people, the first few attempts feel almost unbearable. But this discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something real is finally happening. From that silence, something begins to emerge. A deeper sense of what you actually care about. Not what you've been conditioned to chase, not what the loop has been feeding you, but what genuinely matters to you beneath all the noise. And then comes the true gamble, the one Pascal was really pointing at. Betting on something hard, something sincere, something you actually believe in, despite the odds, despite the system, despite the uncertainty. This is the only bet that has ever produced anything worth having. Can I fail to understand that I am a lost man, but can I not rise again? Yes. All it would take is just once in my life to be careful and patient, and that's all there is to it. All it would take is to stand firm just once, and I can change my whole destiny in a single hour. The loop is not your destiny. It is a pattern, and patterns, once seen clearly, can be broken. The question is not whether you are caught in it. The question is, now that you see it, what will you do?